My name's Amit. Thank you again, Martin, for having me on. And I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Audia. And essentially, sort of big picture goal, the simplest way to describe this is we are trying to become the YouTube of audio. So the same type of scale and discovery mechanisms that YouTube as a platform gives to video creators, we are trying to figure out how to give that to audio creators, because one of the big problems we see is that everyone's trying to get into spoken word audio and podcasting, but the discovery mechanisms in order to get your content actually to reach people is pretty much broken. So that's kind of what we're doing. We started this about 8 months ago. We launched about 5 months ago, and we've been growing every month and super excited. And now it's to the point where we're trying to take over the world and just get bigger and bigger.
Wait, so you launched 5 months ago?
Yeah, we launched April 5th. So by September 5th,
Nice.
it'll be official 5 months. Yep.
Oh, that's exciting. And that's exciting for me because now we connected via email. I've seen what you do. I signed up for it, and now I'm starting to play with it. I didn't realize it was that fledgling at this point. So that's exciting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I got the idea for it like initially back in July of 2018, and then I kind
Okay.
of let it go for a little bit, and then COVID happened. I had so much time to think, and then by October 2020, I just couldn't get out of my head. And I was like, I
Yes.
gotta see if this is possible. You know, most things are inevitably going to fail, but I was like, I cannot go without even trying to make this happen. And so far, I
Yes.
mean, people have been liking the product, liking the service. So now it's just a question of can more people enjoy it, you know?
Yes, exactly. Now, going more Joe, you saw just came into the room, and yesterday's conversation, we were talking about LinkedIn, and a marketing guy was saying how for the fitness industry, we're kind of preaching to the choir up on Instagram, talking to other trainers when our B2C or business to consumer audience is on LinkedIn. So
Right.
it's a conversation of how do we get over there. So the similar conversation is going to talk about how do we get over to where you are too. But the conversation yesterday with Going More Joe was this is just one more thing to add. How do I navigate all these different social medias? I have it, I follow a bunch of people, I do nothing with it. So why would I waste time with another app, another thing? Like what's the actual advantage of jumping into this as well?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's a really good question. It is. It is. I know it's difficult. I mean, me as a business owner, I have a billion things to do. So when there's another thing to do, I'm like, all right, I got to deal with this. And as a content creator, you know, you're trying to get your content everywhere. And the advice sort of that's been given to us is like, try everything, put it everywhere, see where it goes, and then like sort of experiment with how it operates. But it's busy. It's difficult. It's tiring because
It's
content creators,
busy.
unless it's full
Yeah.
time, you know, you got a whole Pilates studio to run. Like you got a lot of stuff to do. It's difficult to do it. I think the question when you're trying to figure out a new platform is what is the value proposition? So there's sort of two things I would look for. Number one, is it a new platform that shows signs of potential? The reason why this is an important metric to figure out is because if it's a new platform that actually shows signs of potential and you're there first, you have what we call as first mover advantage. And this is, I think,
Yes.
TikTok is the biggest example of this. There were people dancing on TikTok 2 years ago when dancing on TikTok wasn't mainstream, and now
Right.
every fitness instructor, chef in the world is trying to dance on TikTok, trying to match the trends because that's what's required to sort of succeed on that platform. So if you were there first, I mean, you just had organic reach at scale because there wasn't a lot of content, and so the platform was algorithmically biased towards you. So I think that's the first thing of being on a platform. Now there's a ton of new platforms, so it does take a little
Hmm.
bit of due diligence of like, okay, is this something that I can communicate in and get first mover advantage over the other platforms that are also trying to give me first mover advantage?
Yes, exactly. That is the question. How do we wade through all this stuff? I mean, for example, we talked about Clubhouse, which is one thing, and then there's what's the other one? Green Room, and then there's Spaces, and then
Hmm.
there's all these. So I'm just dropping these names like I know all about these. I just heard them. I've not even touched them, right? So,
Yep.
um, and so once again, so with what you're doing for those who just joined, can you just kind of give like the quick elevator pitch? And I have a couple more questions. And please, people in the audience, please ask some more questions. Like, I'm here to just answer every single question about what he's doing. I think it's pretty cool what you're up to. So,
Yeah, so again, Audia is trying to become the YouTube of audio. So we are essentially a search engine where people can find and discover spoken word audio content. But on the flip side, we are a platform that is trying to organically recommend spoken word audio content. We call them Audias on our platform, audio ideas in a more meaningful way. In terms of why it's different than Clubhouse Spaces and all these other live audio apps, is I think it's really important to understand. I think this goes back to the question of like, why would you choose a new app? Live audio, from my perspective, and this is not trying to bash on those other apps, I think they're really awesome experiences. I use those apps every day. it's just not the place where you want to build a brand in the context of sort of content that is monetized in perpetuity and that has impact in perpetuity. So, for example, if you're a Pilates instructor and you join a clubhouse room and you're doing a great talk on Pilates, that conversation goes away, right? And if there were 50 people in the moment that were there to listen to it, awesome. You built some community with those 50 people. But now, if that was recorded and that was algorithmically recommended on a YouTube-like platform that could be given to someone every time they typed in the word Pilates, I mean, that content 10 years from now is still relevant. It's still getting you money. It's still giving you some organic reach. So to me, the live audio platforms are great for building community and like having these types of events. They are not good at letting you have an archive of catalog content that can actually be recommended years from now. And I think that's sort of the beauty of YouTube, whereas videos that are recommended from years ago are important because they're matching your search terms. If you could do the same for audio, I think that could be possible.
Yeah, a perfect example of that, not a perfect example, but an example of that is I did like a dynamic stretching for football video 8 years ago, and it has, multiple views, and that sort of thing is pretty cool. But I had someone reach out to me the other day, and like I think maybe it's just last year, and they're saying like, I want to do a dynamic warm up for my like Pop Warner football in Arkansas. Can you write out a program for me, sort of
Right.
thing. So I've long forgotten about that I even had it. And then people just like when they're looking for warm ups for their football kids, reach out to me from this archive piece I did like 8 years ago. So the content is still relevant because it's still out there.
And that answers your question, which is why is it worth my time? I think a platform that is able to take your content, index it into a database, and then has the incentive from a business perspective to actually recommend it. Spotify doesn't have that incentive because all they care about is a $10 subscription. So they're going to put a lot of content behind a paywall, i.e. Joe Rogan, which means you got to really look at, what is the monetary vision for a platform in the audio world to get your content discovered? I think none of the platforms today truly have that incentive because they're not making money off your content. YouTube has an incentive for any video to get discovered because any video can make money. I think we have the same at Audia, and that's why we're good for creators.
Very cool. Any questions in the comment section? And while those are rolling through, can you bring this down another level for the, as I call the warm fuzzy Pilates instructor who just wants to help the people, why they should market themselves?
Yeah, I mean, so two answers. Number one, in terms of marketing yourself is just important in terms of digital technology, right? If you're starting a brand or doing anything, you got to put yourself out there and you got to figure out how to get people to care about you. I know how annoying it is because for the first 8 months of building Audi, I did not put myself out there because I did not want to care about other people's opinions. But at one point, you got to just jump into the ocean and like let the world see what you're doing, and whether you fail or succeed, and at least you tried your hardest to get yourself out there. Two, audio I think is going to overtake video in the next 10 years, and I know it's a bold thing to say, but there's just a strong correlation of how people are choosing to consume content. The pandemic obviously helped in terms of people staying at home more, and that necessitates that if the attention is in people's ears, then you have to be creating content that's contextual to where they are getting their content from, which may be ears. And as new platforms emerge in which ears are the basis because you can be more productive and multitask and still get content, and you're there popping in those ears, then you just have more opportunity to get business.
So can you read Emma's question there? So I guess the main question is, how is this applicable to Pilates that is naturally so visual? Not only is it so visual, it's actually non-auditory. Like, I mean, it's tactile cues, it's visual cues that appeal most to people in Pilates. So now audio is something that we're going to look to.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good question. I think there's ways to sort of dissect this. Obviously, if someone's going to watch a video on how you're doing Pilates, whether they pay for that video from a subscription or whether they're watching it on YouTube, then it's probably not a fully immersed audio experience because they have to see what you're doing in order to model it, in order to have the exercise. But there is a question of like, how do you build a brand along with whatever video you're doing, right? So if you are talking in general about, I don't know, 5 reasons why you should start Pilates every day, or this, and that, or like, there's a trillion different ways you can communicate a 5 to 7 minute audio message every single day for the next 5 years around the niche of Pilates. All that does is it brings top of the funnel brand awareness to where you actually want to drive them to, which may be a video. So being on the platform in audio format, being first there, having the platform algorithmically recommend you to people who like health, nutrition, fitness, etc., and then just talking about what you're talking about in a meaningful way can then drive traffic to all your other socials and all the other things you want to sell them. which ultimately will be in video form. So I think audio, as long as it gets you to video, is important. And it's also to recognize
Yes,
video
well
is just
said.
competitive, right? So if you
Yeah,
want to get
yeah.
people immediately into your Pilates video, it's a little bit harder given you're competing with so much of the video. And audio, you're not competing with that many people in Pilates. So, it might be somewhere where you can stand out.
How's that for inside lane party people? That's like, yeah, that's good stuff, man. Um, any further questions can just pop up in there. But I'd just love to hear, man, how did you get into this? And what were you doing pre-pandemic where now all of a sudden you have like time to focus on this?
What was I doing pre-pandemic? So I was in college. I was finishing my undergrad in business. And from what was it? From September 2019 till February 2020, I had the greatest time of my life. Like I felt like I lived those 6 months of my senior year. I felt like were all 4 years of my college experience. I don't know. It was just like such an amazing time to be alive and be a senior in college. And I was independent. I had my own car on campus. It was super cool.
Yeah.
And then March, everything shut down. So, I mean, when everything shut down, I went home. I ended up getting COVID. I kind of gave my whole family COVID. And the worst part is I threw the biggest party of my life the day before college closed down. It's like March 13th. And I think someone gave me COVID there. And then I went home to my parents. I was like, hey, I'm home. And I gave them COVID. So, yeah, that was a little bit of a mess. But as I was home, I was kind of just thinking, what am I going to do with my life? I had a business management degree and didn't really want to use it to get a job. So, the question was like, what do I want to do? And that's when the sort of idea just kept hitting me of just like, what if there could be a platform where people could actually get their audio content discovered, particularly, unique ideas that don't have a platform just built for them. And I looked to Spotify and Apple because originally I was just the creative. I wasn't the entrepreneur. And I was just like, these platforms suck at actually getting people discovered. And I was like, well, what if we build our own? And then we just started building and, that started happening.
Yeah. And who is the we? Like, was it like an engineer, a tech guy, a money guy? Like, we all have ideas, and it's like, well, where do we go with that idea? So who is the we in this team of people?
Yeah,
And
I'll
we'll
answer that. And I think I'll answer
Sunny's
Joe's
answer.
question real quick as well, and then I'll get to you, Martin. He said, so write something that can be used written somewhere and then read it on the audio platform to keep it tight and focused. Yeah, I think that works, Joe. I think one thing is also you don't have to write something and then verbatim read it for your podcast, because then sometimes it can feel kind of robotic. I would say get 5 to 6 minutes, have an outline for what you're going to do. If you're not the best speaker, then you can definitely like stare at the outline and make sure you're reading it. But in general, the more natural you are, and if you're just giving 5 good tips on like intermittent fasting or something, just put it out there, talk, and then users usually resonate with something that's something that's meaningful to listen to and not over robotic.
Good.
So yeah, the we was it was me initially, and I just kept trying to think of the idea and trying to make it make more sense. And then by November of 2020, I was like, everything I've read online says in order to make this happen, you need to get someone technical, right? You need to have sort of a team behind you. Just like Startup 101, it's really difficult to outsource the technical development. So then I had to go recruit someone, and I got lucky. I found someone online on like a Tinder for startups. There's like, they match people who are technical and business savvy, put them together, and they had a subscription in order to get more credits to message more people. I ended up using the free version, and the first person I messaged ended up being the guy. We bought the domain name on site, and he was awesome. And then we recruited our third person from LinkedIn. And then, so by February 2021, we were off to the races, and we just kept going.
Simple as that, everybody. Like,
it sounds super simple, but honestly, a lot, I'm struggling at the point right now where we're trying to get funding. And when some people say, oh yeah, we just raised a couple $1 million, and they make it seem so simple, I get so envious of them. Because for some people it is that easy. Now, but there are some people who have literally gone years without finding a co-founder, because it's like literally getting married to someone. It's a very difficult process to do. It just happened to be easier for me, but other parts of the process are much harder for me. So it ebbs and flows.
So what would you say are some of the challenges that you've faced to date with this?
I think one is really emotional. It's not staying motivated, staying with the belief that you can actually do this. I mean, we're trying to take on Spotify and Apple. That's not an easy thing to do. And every day you wake up, I woke up yesterday, I had 4 rejections from venture capitalists, people who don't know those are people. They have a lot of money and they allocate them to people who don't have money in order to help build their business. And I literally wake up every day with more rejections in my email. I mean, I see more rejections every day than I've ever seen in my life. So when you're seeing that
That's
many people,
yeah.
telling you this is not going to work, this, and that, you've got to literally be like, well, I put 8 months into this. I started this. Am I going to value this person's opinion who doesn't really know what we're doing and who's just
Mhm.
making a subjective decision? Or am I going to stay the course? And, you stay the course we have
Yes.
1,600 testimonials by people, and I constantly read those every day by people saying, yo, this is
Yeah.
amazing. This is going to work. I'm so excited for this. And that keeps you level headed. I think the biggest challenge every day is just remembering that, like, you said you were going to do this and it's non-negotiable, so just go do it.
Yeah, that's like big talk, man. Like that's like that is like the motivation. Like you obviously have some internal motivation there to get that, to do that, you know? So,
Yeah, and it comes from a lot of different sources. I mean, some of it comes from some dark places. My parents don't have the best relationship, and part of building this startup is like my salvation from some of the hard parts of their relationship that I have to deal with every day if we want to go super deep. Some of them are from some narcissistic parts. I want to be on the fucking cover of Forbes. I just want to do that. Like, I want to be on the cover of that magazine. So, I mean, there's a lot of different places it comes from. I think ultimately
yes.
the quote that sums it up for me is something to chase is better than nothing to chase. And, if I wasn't
Yes.
chasing this, I would truly have nothing to chase. So it's like, this is a really hard chase, but it's something. And, like, something's better than nothing.
Something to chase is better than nothing to chase.
Yep. I think I think that encapsulates everything when everyone's going on a journey to do something.
Yeah. That really resonates with me. I use the word chase daily for stuff. That's like my first word in terms of the pursuit of a dream or vision and stuff is like chase after that, chase after that, chase after that. Like
Yep.
that's my word. So I feel you on that. And those are valid reasons what you're saying, whether it's like interpersonal relationship stuff or like just your own narcissistic. I love the fact that you just put it out there like that because I think um, we need to be chasing after something and our reasons for doing it are valid reasons for doing it.
Yeah, and I think, I think the question is what saves you in life. Some people have religion, some people have alcohol, some people have family, some people have going to get a PhD. Like what actually saves? Because to me, life in and of itself is tragic. I mean, there's just constant suffering that we're all dealing with. It's an absurd existence that we all have to capitulate with and try to make sense of
Yes.
in an irrational, rational way. And
Yes.
the best way for you to save yourself is to ultimately go down a path that you have decided is
Mhm.
your version of hell, but ultimately because it's your version, it becomes heaven, right? It's like everything's hard. So if I pick
Yes.
the one that's hard, but I picked it being hard, then I can stomach how hard it is. And that ultimately keeps you going and keeps
It
you and
does.
trying to see the pot of gold at the end.
So if I just substituted what all you just said for the word purpose.
Yeah. I, I found my purpose. I mean, this is what I want to do. And it sounds crazy to be like, oh, at 23, I found my purpose. But like, I truly spent, a good year thinking like, is there any other trajectory my life could go down that would be better than this? And after really thinking of it, I'm like, no, like this is everything. I get to
Mhm.
build a startup at 23. I get to try to take on the giants that exist. I get to try to get everyone to believe in my message. I mean, that's everything to me. And it's something that I care about because a lot of people start businesses because there's a market opportunity, there's money. And it's like, those could win, but it's like, it's boring. It's like, you're doing this just for money. It's like, I'm not, I could be doing a lot of other things for money right now. I'm not making any money off this. I'm doing this because I'm like, if we could do this, we could change everything in this industry.
Yep.
So yeah, it's the purpose. It's my purpose.
That's the purpose. Like, yeah. Yes.
Amit says that's not the most positive outlook on. Amit, so there's a philosopher called Albert Camus. I definitely think you should check him out. And Albert Camus' philosophy is that life is absurd. He wrote *The Plague*, which was a book that actually popped up during this COVID stuff. And *The Plague* was this whole idea that life happens in a lot of crazy ways for no reason. Like, we can't rationalize what COVID did and all the death it caused. It just happened, right? Like it literally just happened. There's no rational basis for it. You can't say it was meant to happen or here's the silver lining. Like, you could try to look at it optimistically, but the shit just happened. So the question becomes, when life is absurd and like all this stuff doesn't make any sense, where do we figure out a way to make it make sense? And that's
Yes.
where sort of purpose and salvation comes in to try to figure out how it goes. And to me, the reason it's an optimistic way to look at life is because if you kind of look at life as this absurd you know, fantasy in which the universe is indifferent to humans, meaning a hurricane could happen because they don't care that humans are going to die because the universe is going to do whatever it wants to do. Then you realize there's actually an opportunity. It's like if everything doesn't matter, then that means everything does matter as long as I
Everything has
choose
a
to make things
possibility.
matter.
Yeah, exactly. And your perspective is on those things are the things that matter.
Right.
I had to write a piece for contribution for a book. I think it is an ebook or something that's coming up. And one of the questions that they were asking me is like around longevity, vitality, like how do you live your best life, that sort of thing. And I summarize it by saying by simply having purpose. Like I'm going to live longer because I have a purpose.
Yeah.
Full stop. Like I think that really is. It's not like, well, eat your vegetables or get enough sleep or have like make sure that you have a whatever. Have a purpose. Like chase after something. That is the key to longevity in my mind.
You are 1,000% right. I mean, I'm my grandpa is with me in the house. He just moved in, and he's 84 years old, and his entire day is rooted in just waking up and watching TV and then going to sleep. And he cries throughout the day, and I can tell why he's crying is like because he has nothing to do. I mean, he can't like go even make food. Like he has nothing to do. And when you're at the point where you have absolutely nothing to do, which at one point or another, unless we're in tip top health at that age, it's going to get to the point where we can't do that many things and we're obliged to not really do anything throughout the day. That can drive you crazy. And imagine, while you're young and you have nothing to do or you have something to do, but you feel like it's worth nothing. I mean, it is
Yes.
so important just to feel, even if it's an illusion, to feel as if what you're doing matters because that
Yes.
truly makes life livable every day, which contributes to
Yes.
longevity.
Right. Absolutely. Gordon Moore Joe is Sunny Alman. Sunny saying the reason to wake up every day. Yes, a reason to wake up every day. One of the quotes actually used, not that I don't like, honestly, this guy gave me this information on this book like so long ago, I can't remember what it's about. So I apologize to the dude who asked me to do this stuff. But the quote that I put in it is one of my favorite quotes. It said, the most important day of your life is not the day you were born, but the day you discover why you were born.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I've heard that quote a couple of times. It's like, the old you kind of dies when you realize what the real you was meant to do. And when you
Yep.
truly, when it's that thing, it's like, I'm here to go chase this thing and be the best at it or try to be the best at it.
Yep.
That purpose gets real quick.
Yes. Purpose. I have a new 91-year-old client.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Better every day. So now at this point, in terms of back to Idea for a second. So in terms of funding and capital and stuff, like where are you guys at with that?
So we're in the fundraising process. We just had a meeting with one firm last week. We have our second meeting coming up this week, hoping that goes well, and then we have an initial meeting with another firm on September 8th, so the day after Labor Day. And we've had about 7 to 8 meetings throughout the entirety of the summer. So we're at the point where firms are showing interest. They're responding to cold emails. Usually they don't even respond to cold emails because they're all elitist and you have to have some stupid connections. So they're actually responding to our emails. They're actually.
How do you really feel about that?
Yeah, I'm like, all right, man, you guys are interesting. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think by the end of October, theoretically, we should be able to get some funding and I should be able to quit my day job and be able to go full time. I mean, that's really the goal because once, you've got 24 hours to just commit to something, everything just changes and you can hire some staff and, you make things a little bit more easier. It would just make everything so much easier, but it's really hard to get venture funded. It's really hard to convince someone to give you $2 million. So
Right. Yeah.
as much as a communicator I am, it's still difficult.
No, you're doing a great job, man. And if anyone has $2 million and they want to just wire it, let us know. But that's it. Like I just hang out on those pieces of the conversation because everyone has like I said, we're all warm, fuzzy plies instructors. We all have a great idea. But when you're waking up to a rejection email every single day, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the real talk of it. Like we can talk about like your vision and your plans and your 10-year goals all day, but like when someone's saying no every single day while you're trying to get there, and you got to motivate yourself some days. And other people, like, I love the fact you talked about testimonials and and just being able to read those and just like get some affirmation of your steps so far from those things. That's key. And that's real good stuff.
Yeah, and it makes the yeses more worth it, you know, because like as we've been getting rejections, we've also been getting some yeses in terms of people who want to have meetings, and those meetings they didn't turn out into full investments, but it gives you so much. I mean, I remember the first day a venture capitalist, this guy's worth like $2 billion, actually responded to my email, and he said, "Hey, let's have a meeting next week for 30 minutes." And I completely crapped the bed on that meeting because I was so nervous. I mean, like, you could literally feel how nervous I was as I was speaking, and it was the first meeting. I mean, it's never going to go well. But
Right.
the fact that we got that initial yes, that was everything for me. And then we got the second yes, and
Absolutely.
then the third yes, and then the fourth yes, and now we had our fifth meet. So it's like in the midst of all the rejections, you get to have some silver moments. You don't take those for granted because you
Hmm.
know how hard it is to come across them, and then you step up to the plate and see what you can do. And that's all you can ask for, you know. In this year, I think every day, Martin, how easy my life would be if I just gave up these grand ambitions and just accepted the mundane. I mean, just watch
Yes.
Netflix and just go to your 9 to 5 and like.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes through my head every day because I'm like, yo, I'm really killing myself emotionally and physically trying to do this. And it's
Yeah.
like life would be so much simpler if I just didn't put this pressure on myself. But then it's like
Yes.
I can't sit for 1 minute just knowing that I'm not trying to do anything because then it feels like there's
Right.
nothing to do.
It's compelling you. That's something that's coming at you from the inside out. I love that. That's so funny because like who's the UFC fighter that said something along those lines where like everyone says that quitting is not an option, and he's like, quitting is the most readily available option.
Mm-hmm.
Like
That
you
is
can
true.
quit whenever you like, right?
And
And
it's
then you have
easy,
to.
and it's
It's
super easy. You're just
easy.
like, all right, I'm done, quit, and
Yeah,
no one cares. You just quit.
yeah, right. Exactly. It's like at this point, like no one would really care if you quit except you, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and that stings. That stings
yeah.
because you got to really. I mean, you got to really think about. I was talking to one of my mentors. He's 42 now. He's an accomplished PhD professor. He has like his own department in Scotland. I mean, like he's done a lot of stuff. They like flew him out from Texas. And because he just published so many good books, they wanted to give him his own department. And he was just like, when you get to my age, you really start looking back on the world and you start asking yourself, what did I contribute? Like, what did I do? That's a very existential question because a lot of people, you know, in the hopes of not sounding arrogant, maybe they didn't do much, right? Even though
Mhm.
everyone does something, but like,
Yes,
what
I know
did
what you
you
mean.
start, it's an internal question. It's like everyone contributes to the world in some way, but it's like, what did you really do? And when you get to the age where you're like, well, I don't have that much time left to do anything else, that's
Mhm.
when the real regret starts sipping in. So if you're at this age where it's easy to quit, but you can work your ass off for the next 15 years and not quit and maybe get somewhere,
Yes.
then it's easier to live at 40, 50 knowing that you tried.
Well, and that's even that last statement about doing much. The much is in relation to your potential, not
Right.
much in terms of quantity.
Exactly. Right. Right. 100%. Yeah. If your potential is like, I mean, like for some context, right? I did public speaking in high school. I was on the national debate team. I ended up getting picked as one of 9 kids to join the USA debate team, and we traveled to Croatia and Germany and Slovenia. And I was the third best public speaker in Europe. I was the
Wow.
seventh best debater in the United States. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying like, is high school where I peaked? Like I got to like travel across the world and become this fancy international champion, and I just like go become an investment banker after. It's like
Yeah,
no, man. Like
nah.
I've got fucking raw potential, and I know I can leverage it. I just have to make sure I'm strategic with it and not quit. That's the big. I can go a couple weeks without being productive. As long as the third week you're like, all right, back on the grind. That's it.
Yes. Your best days were behind you, man. Like, like,
Yeah, and and in high school I was living like I was a king. Like I
yeah,
was. The world knew my name, so it's like I got to keep going.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I love that. Like, that's for me. I'm a big picture vision type guy. So even though you're talking software and I'm talking Pilates, like it's basically a vision, a purpose, a dream,
Same shit.
tenacity, rejection, acceptance, and move forward. Fall forward is a thing.
Failing
Failing
forward.
forward is,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, love it. Um, yeah, so Allison, excuse, I don't know if she's still in here, but she just opened a Pilates studio. We had a great conversation a week back just about the challenges with that. Joel Crosby also is a Pilates. He's the guy who wrote about his beats. Where's that comment I can read it earlier? Definitely gonna let my oldest son know because he makes and sells beats all the time. Yeah, and then he was saying, and I will use this platform to talk about about polarity, so what I do at my studio and how to get it out there.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I was telling you, Martin, we don't have that many Pilates people on the platform. So,
Yeah,
this space is ripe and it's open for engagement and bringing audience there. And, as we grow, I mean, these things happen in a heartbeat. Like there's a world in which tomorrow we have 100,000 users, and the people who were there first are just getting all the attention from it. Now, maybe that's not going to happen, but when it does, if it does, just having something there, it's really important. So, yeah, I think the space is really open for taking.
it is exactly. And in full disclosure, for me, that's why I looked at it and I was like, okay, I just went through it and I was like, okay, this looks like it'll be fine. It doesn't look like it's going to be a lot of work to get some content up there because I have so much content already. I can just pull stuff and
Right.
whatever. But the other thing I looked around is like there's not that many fitness people. There's some fitness and nutrition people, and a few people there. There's definitely no Pilates. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then within the Pilates world where I stand as a male, as a black male, like we're at zero when it came to Pilates alone, right? So I figured that
Right.
I'm going to have a corner on the market. So for those of you who are watching, let's lock arms and let's get out there, right? Because I think that like we can get our voice out there and be seen in different arenas. Um, I was going through some old documents. I just moved recently, and I have like some old documents and some of my like I journal everything. Like I have like notes for days on anything that I'm thinking about for my business. And one of the original lines that I put for my business as kind of like the tagline of the vision was quite simply more people doing Pilates more often,
Okay.
right? And if I do a lot of stuff like real men do Pilates and like my target market and stuff like that, but that's really my tagline is more people doing Pilates more often. So if I'm going to move with my vision, this is something that aligns with that vision because now I have a whole audience of business owners and there's the executive coaches and all these different people that are on idea already. And there's no Pilates people. So now these are people who potentially will get connected with Pilates because now I'm in a different arena. I'm swimming in a different pool to get people thinking about Pilates.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like
Right.
when your vision aligns with someone else's vision, that's when you lock on. And that becomes more a question of do our visions align than what is this app about or what is this website about? It's like, does this line up with where I want to be with my vision? Yes or no? If yes, then run.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think if you're trying to start something and you're trying to build something, whatever it may be, and you see there's an opportunity to communicate about that to the world in some manner, then it's go time. And like you said, I mean, there's not a lot of people like you that are actually doing this thing. So to me, it's like differentiating variables. If you're able to stand out and make this idea of more people doing Pilates more often something that is your mantra and something that is uh, simultaneously recognized subconsciously when people come across your brand, then I mean that's really powerful marketing. Just getting that out everywhere. It's a big thing to ultimately grow who you want to be.
Yep, absolutely. It's good.
How
Thanks for
long have
putting
you
in
been
the
doing the studio?
yeah, man, flip the script. Ask me some questions. I this is a COVID baby. Like this is July of
Ah,
last
right.
year
You
that I
told me. You
opened
told
the
me
studio,
that.
right? Yeah, so I did that. And I've been in the industry since 2002. So as a personal trainer, and
Mm,
then moving more into this as tools in my toolbox and just having that edge in the market as a personal trainer who knows Pilates, and then dove deeper into the Pilates and became like, okay, this is my thing. Like Pilates classes kick my butt. I want to own it, and I recognize how this is a game changer for everyone from weekend warriors to professional athletes, and I just want to get them moving in that way. So
right.
yeah, so now this is just a space to do that. And High Octane's the gym. Shout out to High Octane Training and Therapy here in Mississauga. So I am a boutique studio. I'm a studio within a bigger gym clinic space. So this is where I'm doing this out of.
Is the Pilates scene big in Canada? Is there a lot of people doing it?
Globally speaking, no. Like, there's a few like Stop Pilates is out of Toronto, so they have some studios. There's a lot of small like boutique type studios, and people have studios in their homes and stuff like that, but not as big as the States or some places in Europe. It's growing. Like there's some big box gyms that have Pilates studios in them, but overall, and like I have a friend, Arc Amy in on kind of west coast of Canada, and she has some actual numbers on how many actual Pilates studios and people. Like she's done some metrics on it. It's not very big. It really
Mm,
isn't that big.
gotcha. Yeah, that's awesome. Then you got to do world domination. Got to go to Canada, and then you got little Martin Reed franchises all across the world. Like that could get
Yeah,
big.
it can get big.
Why
Yeah,
not?
Yeah, exactly. And I started thinking like I want to be global and hyper local at the same time,
Right.
right? So the global piece is like these core conversations. You're in Jersey, there's people from, you know, the States and the UK, and then your audience and stuff. So people all over the world watching this, but then at the same time, how do I actually serve my community? So I'm in Mississauga. I say Mississauga, I don't say Toronto, right? Like
Right.
Toronto's like 20 minutes away, and everyone would know that, but I want to put Mississauga on the map,
Right. Right. Oh, so
right?
are you hyped for this new Drake album coming out?
I'm following it, man. Like I like his
Did you
stuff.
see the cover for it?
No, I haven't yet.
It's weird, man. It's 12 pregnant woman emojis. That's the cover for the new album. See, that sounds crazy, right? You're like,
Yeah.
what the hell? Like if you go to his Instagram, it's ridiculous. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how many people. I know Canada loves Drake, so I love Drake too. So just asking.
Well, the thing is, like, he's actually good. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
sometimes you're like Canadian artists are like, okay, yeah, I'll give you some love, I'll give you some support, but
Drake is a global international superstar, man. Like that's
right.
crazy. And Weekend's also from Canada, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. There's quite a few guys who are like legit from here.
Wow.
Um, and I had a old school like OG hip hop guy, Maestro Fresh West, on a few weeks back.
Wow.
That you know, let your backbone slide and stuff like that. So like he's like one of the guys who really paved the way for these guys who are now global, international, right? So you may or may not know his name, but like everyone of these guys pay homage to this guy as the GOAT.
Right.
So yeah,
Awesome.
pretty cool
Awesome.
stuff. Yeah, man. Okay, so at this point, we got the idea link up there. People can sign up on it. How else can we support you?
Yeah, audea.io/register. That's how you can sign up. We're in the App Store, so if you type in AUDEA, you can go and download it. And I would say, you don't have to sign up when you download the app. You're immediately going to get content as soon as you open up. And then if you want to like subscribe or comment on something, it'll ask you to make an account. So you can start playing around with it. Just start listening to some of the audio that's up there. Start seeing how do you enjoy the experience. Ultimately, and I'm totally open to feedback. Amit@audea.io if you guys want to send any feedback through email. The way it's supposed to work is you're supposed to refresh the feed every day and get new audio ideas that pop up. And audio ideas represented through a thumbnail and a title. And if something relevant comes into your feed that when you click on, you enjoy the content and then come back to the app, that's how we know we're creating an experience for people that's meaningful. And over time, our algorithms are going to get better to help put the best audio content in front of you, just like YouTube puts the best video content in front of you. So download the app, play around with it, kind of see how it feels. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed some of it. Hopefully you can check out Martin's content coming on it soon.
Yes, gonna work on that for sure. Um, so yeah, so basically, one, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
And two, and I'll repost this. I'll have this up on YouTube. Maybe I'll actually do an audio clip for it too, and
Perfect.
point it back to you, so we can go from there. And yeah, feel free to use this content, recycle it wherever you need, man. And just I wanted to get the man behind the brand on this because I think that you're doing some great work, and I'm excited to see where you're at. And I hope that's inspiring to others who have ideas of just doing something to just go out there and just get a ton of no's for the one yes that's coming your way.
Thank you, Amit. Best of luck. Thank you. Appreciate it. Joe, very clever of you. Great success. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. It's really hard. We're really trying to do this. We're trying to make some big milestone. I mean, it's really, and like Martin just said, if you have an idea, go out and do it. Remember, when you go out and try to make that idea real, it's really hard, but it's the best type of hard you could ever have. Like working a 9 to 5 is also very hard. So pick the type of hard that you'll be able to enjoy the most. And yeah, thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, signing off. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Really appreciate everybody. And we are back at it tomorrow. All right, take care. Thanks, Emmett.
Take care, man. Thank you.